Councilmember Williams, can you hear me? Councilmember Williams, can you hear me? Councilmember Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. It is, what time do we have? Sorry.
6:37.
6:37 on Tuesday, November 20th, 2024, and I now call to order the City of College Place City Council Workshop Special Meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to update the College Place strategic plan, vision, and mission statements, and to set our goals for the next 10 years. Amy, will you please take roll call?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Jessup is excused. Councilmember Cleveland,
Present.
Councilmember Espinoza, Councilmember Peterson,
Present.
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Councilmember Sherman is excused, and Councilmember Boyle is excused. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Will you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. It's time for public comment. Did anyone submit a written comment in advance or request to speak via telephone or virtually?
No, ma'am.
All right. Then we're going to just move on since there's no one in council chambers. We have one topic on the agenda for tonight, and Mr. Rakai will join us to go where no man has gone before. How about that one? The distant future of the city of College Place. I turn it over to you.
Okay, that was a great intro where no man's gone before. I don't know if I should be nervous or not. So there we go. Good evening, council and selected staff. Zach Rakai here from Sageland Strategic to continue our journey on strategic planning. As you recall, last time on the October 22nd meeting, we dug pretty deep into the vision statement. We accepted a mission statement, and so I was able to take some notes there, but it was also a budget hearing that evening, so we weren't able to start a little bit of goal setting. So our goal tonight is to affirm a new version of the vision statement that I captured from the comments and move forward with setting goals for our 5 priority areas. This is actually can be pretty fun, can be pretty interactive. It's a chance for you to look at the future of the community and see what possibilities you as council, you as a community, you as staff could work towards with regard to your 5 priorities. So this, depending upon how much we get done, should be our last bulk session for this. And then I will take all the information, draft it into a document. And then we'll come back, I believe, in January to discuss the language, ratify it, and hopefully approve it. So from there, I don't know if you have a clicky or use. Oh, under. Oh, this? Okay, yeah. Perfect. So I want to touch on the mission and vision statements pretty initially here. So from our conversation on October 22nd, we took a deep dive into the mission statement, as I stated before, but the vision statement was generally accepted, being a simple statement here. So we're going to include that as being the accepted mission statement. Excuse me, the mission of the city of College Place is to building a safe, affordable, and connected community where everyone thrives with vibrant spaces, resilient growth, and shared experiences. Very simple, very action-oriented, but it captured a lot of not only your priorities that you've established, but also a lot of the communication and survey data that we received from the community and the interviews that we did as well. So the vision statement, we had a lot of discussion on wording. We had a lot of discussion on sentence structure and placement. It is significantly shorter than the current vision statement in the 2017 strategic plan. And before we launch into it real quick, just some of the discussion that we have was making sure that it carried everything or covered everything. We had a lot of discussion on the tense of the statement. So is it a will be, College Place will be, or are we looking at that we've already achieved this, that it's written in the present tense, but you can also consider it future tense. We did have that question posed, and then the remainder of the discussion was that future or present tense. So I chose to write it in that sense as well, but we can certainly change some of the verbs in there if we need to, based upon any decisions we make this evening. We talked a lot about changing diverse housing to regular housing, to affordable housing, to available housing. We talked about switching the walkable city and, walkable, vibrant city, rich in community events to the first sentence, which I took a chance on and did that as well. And removed some of the extraneous verbs we had in there. So it was, strategic financial stewardship, effective collaboration, just to kind of shorten it and just make it seem a little simpler. So the result from that conversation, and I already see a capitalization error that'll fix on the final plan. But College Place is a vibrant, walkable community, rich in community events, engagement, and mutual respect. It is a connected community with a flourishing downtown, diverse housing, which we can talk about that, and robust commercial growth. Through financial stewardship, collaboration, and strong sense of safety and community, residents and visitors enjoy a community that ensures a sustainable and inclusive environment for all generations. And I want to point out too that we needed to add, at the request of some council members, to include visitors as part of that vision statement, be welcoming, and include a statement on there was referring to current and new or next generations. So I switched that to all generations for brevity's sake there. So see a little bit there, but just some initial thoughts real quick on the vision statement.
Feel free to, just since we're in kind of an informal discussion, feel free to, you don't need to raise your hand. Go ahead and just speak, but make sure you turn on your microphone when you do.
Yes.
There we go. I like it. I was putting a mission and vision statements together is not one of my strong suits, but while I was reading that, I was thinking of and not fixating, but thinking about our university here. We talk about, it's kind of a dual purpose statement in many ways, because we're talking about visitors and we're talking about outside visitors from Seattle, wherever. We're also talking about many times where our community is basically hundreds and hundreds of individuals that come to visit their students on certain activities here that are from out of town. And when I see that the community visitors and whatnot, it does strike a broad spectrum, a broad balance, I think, that is not just where we're headed for, I think, for growth, but it's also recognizing where we're at right now when it comes to our existing structure. And last, not that I have anything really to add here at all, but a walkable city. I think that's a comment that's always been made about our city. Outside individuals that have visited us, they talk about individuals, like they'll comment about people out enjoying the city and walking. And I think we see even more of that now with our sidewalk out Whitman Drive out to Whitman, Last Chance Road, and other areas where I think it is unique. I think, unique. It's one of the things that identifies our city is this people enjoying the community, which when it's walkable, that indicates several things. That indicates a safe environment, a community involvement, and whatever else you want to add there. So anyway, good job.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Did see a lot of people walking and running even with the weather this evening. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Just. Oh, okay. Well, like Melody? Oh, Councilmember Williams?
I wasn't quite sure if I'd heard my cue or not. I really like this, although after Lauren's comments, I do think it is slightly odd that we don't mention the fact that we have a university smack dab in the middle of us. So I'm not quite sure how I would fit that in. Maybe something like a flourishing downtown, something about students,
Academics.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, I really like the vision statement, but it does seem a little odd that the only place we recognize college is in the name of our town.
All right,
It
Makes
is a
sense.
tale of two cities.
Sure. I think I've learned, yeah.
maybe, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, it's not the perfection, but either a strong, Richmond community events, engagement, okay, somewhere throw in there, we could put a strong either educational system or academics or,
You could just simply put academics.
right, because that includes higher ed and,
Well, and I would say that would include, which for the size of our community is an anomaly, the fact that you have a public K through 12 and a private K through 12 system,
Right.
that's really.
and part of our strength that we hope to is to attract families because we have a good academic system, right? For whether from K through 12 to all the way to the university, I think in mindset that would be inclusive of that.
I mean, almost in the first sentence, not to wordsmith for the team, but you could say College Place is a vibrant, walkable city rich in academics, community events. That way you have academics hitting first.
Right.
It puts a nod to the university, which is a significant portion of this community. But it also has the K-12, public and private as well.
Right. Councilmember Cleveland?
I'm in agreement with a lot of folks are saying, do we prefer academic or like rich in education? Do we prefer to say rich in academics or rich in education?
I have no preference. So I would, whatever the rest of you feel like is fitting.
I would go with academics. I think it's more succinct. Just say less with one word.
On the topic of being succinct, how are we differentiating rich in community events and connected community? Because those seem very similar.
If I'm allowed to speak from an outsider's perspective, that second sentence it's not flashy, it's happening, but it's not really vision statement material because it's kind of already in the works and it should be and always should be constantly for the city to grow. I would say that this is a given, that the second sentence is a given. Personally.
The connected community with a flourishing downtown?
I mean, the flourishing downtown or the downtown maybe is like really the only word that I would say like could be worked on. But in terms of, we're constantly going to be working on a flourishing downtown, a diverse housing and robust commercial growth that should all kind of always be in the works. And it's also that second sentence isn't what's going to attract visitors or people here. The first sentence will for sure. But I mean, it should be an absolute given that any place people want to live has a flourishing downtown, diverse housing and robust commercial.
Sure, but I think so go ahead.
Those two sentences, or is that a comma?
It's two sentences. It's
Two
just,
sentences. That was my capitalization error.
Oh, okay, got it.
but
It should be a connected community.
I do think mentioning the flourishing downtown anyways speaks to what as city leadership, we are also focused on. Right. It's what we are committing to College Place that we're going to work forward on. So I like it there.
And I know
don't know
diverse
about connected
housing.
community.
Yeah, diverse housing was discussed last meeting. robust commercial growth could be, I think, removed. I mean, that's kind of part of flourishing downtown.
Councilmember Williams, feel free to just chime in.
Okay. I like the second sentence, even though I agree that's something that any town should be working on, but I feel like it's a nod to the fact that we feel like these are places we're not quite there yet. And so that's part of our vision is for the next 10 years is we're going to get there.
I don't think we need a second sentence. I think that's a sentence that can be, now, when I write things, sometimes they can run on for paragraphs, single sentences, but College Space is a vibrant, walkable city, rich in community events, engagement, as well as a. You could do some connected words there as well as a connected community with, or whatever. It's, I mean, I know that we're just putting this thing together. That's not even a run-on sentence. That's like,
Missing a verb.
yeah.
Yeah,
right,
I'm missing the,
Right.
yeah.
So I mean, that could either be one sentence if we glue that together, or that needs to be a little bit cleaner with recommendations that were just made previously.
Okay.
But I'd like a clarification what connected community means. I'm not sure where that came up, but whoever.
It is one of your first priorities. But.
Oh, that one.
When I think of connected, I imagine a city where people are coming together, but that's kind of covered in the community events. So to me, it felt a little superfluous to say it's connect community and it's rich in community events.
I look at it just on the basis of the information we got through the community engagement. It's an informed community. They want to be connected, know what's going on. They want to know what's going on at City Hall. They want to know what's happening as far as news of community events. It doesn't necessarily, if it's an informed community, it doesn't necessarily connect with flourishing downtown, but would you want to include informed community as part of your vision?
We have engagement on there.
Sure.
I
thought
racially, I actually thought also beyond that. The community that's racially at peace,
Right, I like that.
unconflicted.
Okay.
Councilmember Williams, go ahead.
I think of connected community as, you know, if there's a snowstorm, there's somebody that looks out for all the neighbors, and you know, there's people you can reach out to. So it's more one-on-one connections compared to the events.
Yeah. I agree.
It's like neighborly.
Supportive.
But
So
I
it's-
don't have super strong feelings about it. I do like the idea of adding in
Yeah.
the academic,
Yeah.
and
Well,
maybe making that all one sentence instead, and after respect saying,
maybe a welcoming and
with,
caring.
yeah,
A caring community.
Because I think many wouldn't understand what connected meant if we're
Yeah.
talking about connecting with your neighbors, you know, so you're caring because you do
a
think. people-
vibrant,
right?
walkable, caring city, rich in community events, engagement, and mutual respect, with a flourishing downtown, diverse housing, and robust commercial growth.
Vibrant, walkable, caring city.
You took out the connected, yeah, which is.
Not that I want to add another word, but thinking about what Lauren just said about being an accepting community. Do we
Yeah.
want to put something, whether it's welcoming or I don't know what other word, right? But that we don't, that we're not a closed off community, I suppose. And the reason I say that is because I'm sure I've told you all this story before, but when I was moving here, I hired an agent who lived in College Place. I didn't know that at the time, but he did. And we were looking for homes anywhere, right in the Walla Walla area. And when I asked about the house I'm living in today, he literally said to me, "You don't want to live over there." And when I asked him why, he said, "Well, it's not really a community you will fit into."
Oof.
And again, I said, and I looked at him and I said, "What does that mean?" And he just like, "Well, it's a Seventh-day Adventist city and, you probably just won't fit in." Which is then when I said, "I want to see that house."
Good for you.
Well, and I was saddened when there were hate crimes happening across the country, and we made a proclamation that we're a city that accepts people of all, everybody, and people came to actually make public comment against that. And so I think we have, and I was hoping that mutual respect and inclusive covered that, but we might need to be a little bit more blunt about it.
Council members, gentlemen, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think the last phrase, sustainable, inclusive environment for all generations, that's talking about different age groups, but maybe is not including all peoples, the diversity of the ethnic diversity of the community. So maybe if we add another word next to inclusive environment for all generations, and that could be peoples or whatever other word we agree on, then that would round it up well to include diverse age groups and all ethnicities represented in the community.
So is there a way we can use the word diversity to round it up rather than say a diverse community, maybe, I don't know,
Well, that is- yeah.
focused on diverse, no,
Sustainable, diverse, and inclusive environment, that. I mean, it's not perfect what I just said, but that.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Melody can't hear you.
Let me round it out. No, I was just saying on that last sentence, we could put diverse somewhere between ensures and the end of that sentence at the very end.
Visitors enjoy a diverse community that ensures a sustainable and inclusive environment for all generations and peoples.
It ensures a sustainable, diverse and inclusive.
Okay.
I mean, I just,
Yeah, I like it.
what do I know?
Let me rewrite it and play with it.
I
think
think we're
we're-
doing that right now.
You're doing that right now?
A little bit, yeah.
Excellent,
okay,
thank you.
So far, I've got College Place is a welcoming, vibrant, diverse, and walkable city with a flourishing downtown, rich in community events, engagement, acceptance, and respect. It boasts available housing and robust commercial growth. And I haven't quite gone over the second sentence yet.
Okay,
Don't forget academics in there.
Oh, yeah.
yes.
I like the flow that they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to thank you all for having this little small discussion. Because I think it's really important that we had, something we had left out, but it wasn't until you brought it up that it brought back that this agent felt like you won't be welcomed here, right? And that's certainly not what we're trying to suggest. And for whatever reason that he felt that. And then he moved out of College Place shortly after I moved here.
Now you're the mayor too.
Yeah, there you go. Show him what he knew.
I will, look, I've. Yeah, and it's a current event. It was, exactly. It's not something that, and I know it, I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. just a couple days ago. And not that everything has to revolve around Walla Walla University, but somebody said you can't go to Walla Walla University unless you're a Seventh-day Adventist.
Mhm.
And that was a statement that was made in our community among people that have lived here for generations.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it's a current, and we're not going to address that issue here with this and that, but it's, yeah, I think we're headed there.
But I still think it signals,
Yeah.
right? It signals different.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we're talking about it as a council because we're setting the direction for years to come. And so we're saying it matters. It matters how we look at this and it matters that we bring it to light and we create a community where everyone finds their place and is welcomed in the community. You know, it doesn't matter your faith, your walk of life, your preferences. It's just a community that you want to be part of.
Definitely.
Thank you.
We've got some wordsmithing going on. I've got a lot of notes. But let's talk a little bit about goal setting tonight. As we kind of get through this, it can be pretty fun, pretty easy. I look forward to this. This is actually one of my favorites.
That's like.
There we go. So we've talked a little bit about this, but that's why I'm doing this, because I like it, you know.
Could you go back just for a second so I can finish copying
yeah.
out the original? The second, yeah.
So while the council member Cleveland is hammering that out, I'll just kind of go off my paper notes before we catch up. So as we talk about priorities, we've set priorities for College Place as part of this, and those are going to be your priority areas of focus that are, you know, will go the lifetime of your strategic plan or beyond, or it could be indefinite, you know. The priorities that were created a couple meetings ago were a safe community, an affordable community, a resilient community, a connected community, which we were talking about connected, what does that mean? And a fun community. And those are going to be your overarching, very simplistic statements. But as you run and you engage with the community, those are going to be the things that you're primarily focused on as city leadership, as city council. So those are going to be sort of your biggest issues, your biggest opportunities, your biggest areas of focus for the life of College Place, certainly the life of the strategic plan. And those are our 5 buckets, our framework for our goals this evening. So a goal would be, where do you want to be? A destination. Where would you want to be with a connected community? What does that mean? What are the things that, if you have a connected community 10 years from now, what are the goals? What are the actions? What does success look like as far as that goes? So the goal is where you want to be. It's your destination. It's longer term. So there might not be something that you can accomplish in a year. It may not even be something that you can start within a year, but it's something that you want to carry with through your strategic plan. So if you look at a connected community, for example, one goal that you could have is ensure that residents and business owners are informed about community events. So that's a 3 to 5 year or 10-year goal. You just want to make sure that that information is coming out, that everyone is informed. It's very simple. It gets a little bit more specific for connected community, but it's not necessarily a specific project that lands on Mike's desk for his staff to do. So some things that we talk about tonight might get into objective territory. So an objective is the direction that you want to take for your goal. And so we can divide those out and write them out. We could just simply do goals. We could simply go as far as we want to go with this. But an objective is that direction that you want to take to get to your destination. So if your goal is to ensure that residents and business owners are informed of community events, maybe the direction that you take in the next couple of years is establish a communication staff member position specifically focused on that, or an internal team that focuses on outreach. So that kind of gives you that direction a little bit more specific to maintaining a connected community. And then beyond that, the staff stuff that we would do through our implementation planning could be, all right, well, we can't hire someone right away. We just went through the budget cycle. We know how it goes, but in the next year or two, let's determine what a new staff member would cost budget wise, what they would need as far as, you know, salary and benefits, computer and technology, office furniture, and identify, okay, how much is this even going to cost before we have the discussion of establishing that? So you see, it kind of gets a little bit more specific as you go down through there. So I'd like to start out with connected community. If we have a bigger group, I would divide everyone up and you kind of go around the room for an hour or two and write your own goals. But since it's just us, like I said, we're the ones that showed up, so we get to create the goals for the community. But I'd like to just ask some of those questions as far as a connected community goes and just some thoughts out there that we could form into goals. And we don't necessarily, like a vision statement, mission statement, have to have all the verbiage down perfectly, but we can get some ideas out, massage them into some goals for review. So in looking at a connected community, you know, how would you describe success? What does a connected community look like? What is a goal that you could take for that pathway to get there? Any ideas on that?
I think having effective communication channels that reach the community effectively. That could be, and I know that the city is using Facebook. That is a good one. They're using the board, the electronic board up front too. That's another good one too. We got to do more of that and realize that people might go to a different platform in the future, and the city just has to stay on top of it. And also a second language. About 10 to 11% of our population is Hispanic. Some of those do not understand the language 100%. So having the same messaging broadcasted through the media that we use in a way that can reach them in a second language, I think would be a very effective way of reaching this goal.
Sure.
This objective of connected community.
And so you're not necessarily saying just a second language, just put everything out on our normal platforms in Spanish, but also identify what the Spanish language speaking community uses. Because they may not use Facebook. I know it could be WhatsApp, it could be a different platform, that sort of thing. So it's really,
and also newer
provide
generation.
that second language, but find the mediums that cover most
Correct.
of
And
that.
also newer generations are not utilizing Facebook as much
Nope.
as I am. My kids are not using Facebook. They're using something else.
It's the old people's
And
platform now.
think they are going to become homeowners. They're going to become members of the community. How do we reach them effectively? You know, some are using TikTok or Snapchat or other platforms. So finding the platforms to get the broadcasted message out to the community, I think would be a way in which we do this.
You know, I've thought about this in the past. When it comes to connected community, everything has said has been great. You know, and I agree with it all. But you don't know what you don't know, you know, type of thing. And I think especially when it comes time for our reelection during that zone, I've thought about you know, we have a statement of how the city's doing and our accomplishments. I've actually thought about what would it be like to go and walk down College Avenue and walk into a business and say, talk to me. What are your concerns? Is it your utility bill? Is it crime? And I don't know if that's a town hall meeting. We're sitting here right now, we got nobody in the audience, right? So this isn't so this is something different. I think this is something where we have an outreach. And it doesn't have to be a whole mob of us. It could be some of us or one or two of us or something. But I think there's a value of going out into the community.
Mhm.
They may not like it, they may not want it, but to go into some local business here, set up an appointment, do something and say, I want you to tell me, what are your thoughts? What are your issues? And whether we learn from that or we don't learn from that. And I know Mike's probably doing that now, and I think the city staff is probably doing that right, but I'm thinking as elected officials, this is something to, once again, there are probably, I know when I've come into contact with a couple businesses, there are issues out there that I had no idea that were issues. And I don't know how I tie that into a connected community necessarily.
Well, being
But-
out in the public, leaders, the staff, we're out in the public so people know who we are. And, somehow fits into that because then they know who we are.
I think it's a great.
And when we know that, then maybe that rolls into what a connected community could be. In other words, that may be a step above that or.
We get out in the
Well,
public.
it's getting more refined, and while we're setting goals, some objectives are gonna pop up. So as we look at new mediums of communication that reach out to the community.
Right.
Not only to provide them information, but to receive information back. Then that's one of your objectives there is, determine a way to do person-to-person meetings, person-to-business meetings, whether it's sort of a walking tour, a drop-in. A lot of communities have, coffee with a cop, the police chief sits
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
Had it.
yeah.
We even had coffee with the mayor and people didn't show up for that. So I stopped that.
I mean, people are out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why I really like your idea about going in is like little groups to random places, because as far as flipping it the other way, or even moving it to different locations, thinking people will come to you through both current mayor and then even going back to Harvey. We tried different timeframes, different places, morning, noon, night, and yeah, average. I mean, the amount of stuff and it still didn't like fix it. So I really think the idea of like little groups going to like a business or a group, that would be a different way of going to it. Cause at least that way of establishing, coffee with so and so, we've tried various different iterations, and you'll get like one or two of the same people, but you aren't really seeing a change over that. And then one other item I just have to mention with the social media thing, I would say as we get into different platforms and different languages, just that we do need to be thinking about the addition of like a staff person or someone to do that, because here's my issue. So when cause I mean, really up until Mary Elizabeth got here, I was frankly doing most of it. The thing is, with all your first incarnations of social media like Facebook, Twitter, now X, and even Nextdoor, if you had what was called a Hootsuite account, you could actually log in and then blast it to all of those platforms in one fell swoop. The problem with what I call second generation of social media, so like the ones that frankly the kids the Felicia teaches use, like the Snapchat and the TikTok, that actually doesn't work. So that means you have to be going in individually and redoing them, and it just adds a ton of time. So
Well, absolutely, that
yeah.
would have to be additional stuff. I mean, because really, as I mentioned, all this is considering not adding more work on staff,
Yeah.
right? That would-
And I'm talking about light.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
tell them you're coming,
yeah,
bring a box of donuts.
I like
And if
that.
they only got 90 seconds.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
Or if they want to talk to you for a half an hour, that's great. So.
that could be a good business promotion, right? A business that say, city council, we're gonna be here, come talk to them. People might come and buy their coffee, buy their donuts, buy their pizza, whatever it is, right?
Like chambers of commerce do those business after hours networking sessions, where they feature at a business
Yeah.
itself,
Okay.
Another thought that I have is under the connected communities is we have academia, we have institutions from K through 12 and university. So I think that the best way to engage them is to help them participate. So how do we do that? By allowing them they can go out into the community, the high school can, the university, and they can get a pulse of what the community feels about certain issues. Like we did the survey and only a few people responded. Why not allow the schools to take that project, go out into the community, get those responses and bring them to us? And so that way they're going to be engaged, they're going to be participating, and they're going to feel part of the project. in the process of feeling connected.
Our youth advisory committee, are these youth on there because they're getting volunteer credits or?
So basically how it's worked is that we would work with the principals or anyone who deals with public outreach and they'd recommend students to us. So how our youth commission is stood up is it's a tripartite board. So a third is College Place High School, the other third is Walla Valley Academy, and then the last third's Walla University. And we just had the kickoff for this academic year and a very strong showing. So
maybe that could be one of their responsibilities.
Yeah, I think like, for instance, Wallow University, they might have a field of communications and we can have a lead in communications and they can get together with the schools to help them participate. Because from my personal experience, I didn't even know what the city did and what the people do with the different committees until I was, well in my 30s and early 40s. So through this outreach, we can get them connected and allow us to connect with the community as well through their work and effort. So I think it's going to help us to meet two purposes with one objective.
For sure.
And I'll have you guys know when, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Williams.
Well, I was just going to say there's quite a few classes where it's really good for them to do something like this, like a marketing class doing a survey or a government class in high school or, a business class or a communications class. The problem is that coordinating all of that and, when we've found opportunities to match those up, it's been very successful. But getting all of that, coordinated, we need this, and when is your class and all of that. So I kind of like the idea of making the youth committee a little more active and asking them to do some of that coordination, because I just don't know that we have the staff time to do a good job of that coordination.
In council, I did specifically task the Youth Advisory Commission today multiple times to go and tell everybody they know about all the awesome things going on in College Place. Multiple times. I told them over and over.
You have that advisory commission too.
Yeah.
So.
May I
Anything else for
interject?
connected communities before we move on to the fun community?
May I interject kind of the wordsmithing that I've done to solicit some feedback?
Yes.
College Place is a welcoming, vibrant, diverse, safe, and walkable city with a flourishing downtown. It is rich in academics, community events, engagement, acceptance, and respect. Residents and visitors enjoy a community of connectedness, collaboration, recreation, and service. It boasts available housing, robust commercial growth, sustainable financial stewardship, and thoughtful planning for all generations.
Geez Louise, he rewrote it all.
So I really like that.
Flo's really
I
good
really
though.
do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I think professionally, my first take on that is it's well categorized.
Yeah.
So you've got your sentence structure, everything seems to fit, whereas, I think it's definitely well categorized. I like it.
Yeah.
Good thing this
I
is
think I hit
recorded.
all the points that we talked about, so, well, get that from the recording.
We'll get it from the recording, put it on the paper and see how it goes. But I think we might have a winner there. I see a lot of head nods. Okay, anything else for connected community? I think we got a good 3, 4, 5 goals and some objectives out there that we can distill down. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, what about a fun community? Talk about community events. Talk about all the things you have going on. Recreation parks.
Yeah.
We've got a Grinch over here, so be careful.
A Grinch.
He says fun's overrated.
No fun in the community. So that could also include parks and rec goals, community events, those sorts of things. What are your initial thoughts on that one? What are we not doing today that would make this more successful?
Starts fun.
Yeah. We're having great fun now, but
Pretty good job.
I really like the idea that we've talked about a few times of making it easier for people to connect with other people over their hobbies, etc. So like every university that I've been connected with at the beginning of the year, they have a time when all of the clubs like have a booth and are like, hey, you can come chop wood with us, which is how my son got into lumber sports, you know? And I've been talking to people who are like, man, I really like to sew. I wish I knew how to connect with people that want to sew. And, you know, I really want to race model cars, RC cars. And I know people do that, but I don't know how to get connected with them. And so some sort of, you know, at our farmers market, there's a space where clubs can have signups, or we have a little website where we encourage, as we go out on all these talks around the community, we talk to everybody and encourage them if they have some sort of club or something to post it there so that people can connect around their interests.
I really like putting some time in our farmers market for those booths so people can come here. People who didn't even intend to go learn what other, you know, what opportunities for gathering are, will see even something like that. And I think we can utilize our farmers market more than we are.
And if we could, when we get our new community center, so I think this would be good to have in our goals, is there are some people that would like to have groups, but they are having a hard time finding meeting space. And so being able to provide space for some of these activities would really help as well.
Yep, that was one of the reasons for the community center, to think about gathering places.
now remind me on the community center, the timing of that. I mean, is this a project underway?
So I would suspect we'll be able to get the architectural plans going by December. I'm working on them with the contract now. And then we're racking and stacking the grants and stuff. I'm hoping we can get to construction phase of that by 2026.
Yep.
So
Another thought is we rely a lot on Walla Walla Parks and Recs for a lot of activities, like sports activities. They even use our facilities for our parks, like their kids are using soccer, but you have to sign up with Walla Walla to be part of those. So I think a vision would be to have a staff in Parks and Recs that would allow for our city to create its own curriculum of activities and sports for kids after school. During the summer, to provide activities and just not go to Walla Walla for those things. I mean, I think that would be something good for us to aspire to as the population grows and as we look at the trends in the future, and more housing is there to support the budget.
So create College Place WA, CP WA led sports, rec, and activity programs. If you can't read anything I write, let me know.
Mike, and then
yeah. The only thing I would add to that, just because when we get to that point, I want to make sure we have a column A, column B thought about it, is another way to be providing those programs too is that we partner with the YMCA. And the reason I mentioned that, because full disclosure, I'm on that board too, is that they are looking at expanding services out this way. And then with that newer development, where there's a discussion about a community type center, I think there's a real likelihood of a big focal point being this way. And they have a lower cost of operation for staff. So I just want to throw that out there.
yeah, whoever does it, but it originates here.
Yeah.
Right? That's really the
Yeah.
thing. Councilmember Peterson.
When I think of fun, when I go back 10 years, probably not a lot of fun things going on. But I think we've made leaps and bounds. When I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking about what we do during the 4th of July, what we do during the Fall Festival, what we do during Christmas here.
Sure.
We have a block party. I could go on. these are things that, it was really interesting when I think it was the first fall, I don't know what it was called, it wasn't Fall Festival, but when we had the
Harvest.
Harvest
Festival.
Harvest, okay.
Yeah.
It was interesting seeing all of these young families showing up. And people were enjoying themselves, they were having fun. It's fun. And we didn't used to do that. And I'm not sure a lot of communities do that necessarily. We're able to pull that off. And so I don't know. I think we support that. We encourage that. And maybe we add to that somewhat. But I've got to say, I give us a grade A on that where we've been and where we are now. Sure, we can improve. Sure, we can add a few things. But this is a whole different temperature as far as the community when you look at these events that we're putting on that I've just outlined.
Yeah, I mean, how many communities have you gone? Like our trunk or treat and city staff and the mayor are all out there with costumes and painted faces, talking to the community, right?
Yeah.
And you should see the city staff. They really go all out. They really competitive.
And it's great turnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, voting on the feet, you know.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add is something, poor Mike, that I'm always talking about. I'd like to be a place, not so much that we have to run it, but I want to be a destination place. Let's put it that way, not just for, for events. I don't know, like radio car racing or, those kind of pig racing, whatever it is that people will come, the Renaissance fairs, things like that.
Yeah.
I really think having things like that in our community, not only bring people from outside in, but it introduces our community to other people or other things that we don't do here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are you thinking like regional destination or statewide destination? Like there's
Yeah, I mean,
national?
somebody who might want to do, like I talked about, troll hunting, right? Or, the Renaissance, as weird as it sounds, there's a large group of, oh gosh, what was I lost my wording. I lost it. Anyways, those kind of things, people who come in costumes and do stuff, right?
Renaissance Fair.
The Renaissance
Yeah,
Fair, yeah, but there's,
It's all up in the state of Washington. There's this group that
Comic-Con?
I'm not.
Comic-Con? For cosplay?
No.
yeah, no,
well,
not only the anime kind of stuff.
These are people that, so it'd be, I'm not gonna say Middle Earth, but
Sure, Middle Ages.
Yeah.
no. It's Europe 1580 through 1670 type of stuff. They have sword fighting and so you go, well, that's really cute. And then you find out that it's a bunch of doctors and dentists in your community that grow up it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And they have these huge, I didn't even know it existed. And I don't know if that's what you were thinking.
Oh, you're talking about like LARPing and stuff. Cause
Yeah,
right
it's all,
into the
it's,
school did
200
that,
people,
yeah.
300 people show up,
Yeah.
camp,
Yeah.
and elect a new king.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah.
are people with day jobs.
Right.
The Society
it's
for
a-
Creative Anachronisms. And they have like the Renaissance fairs and stuff that are open to the public, but they also like Lauren's talking about, they just get together in a field and elect their kings and have their bouts of fighting and all kinds of complicated stuff.
And it's the CFO of Chase Manhattan that's there, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
there's things like the lumber sports
That's what I
where
was just gonna say.
people will come and watch as well as compete.
Well, those are the events that I'm bringing my family out from Tri-Cities.
Right,
See,
right. So
we went out to
events-
Prosser for the hot air balloon
Right.
festival, but it's known like it's the hundreds of people there gathering around.
Exactly. And even though there's already, like the, excuse me. So yes, competitive things that people who are in that interest to be competitive will travel to be part of competitive against other people. Anyways, you get the hint. That's what that's what I would love to see here. I was always trying to, I'm always bugging poor Mike and he's, Corliss isn't done with Martin Field yet. And it's like, we can do this there and we can do that there. And he's like, hold on.
And essentially, your goal is to become a regional, state, or national destination, you know, with a key event or something.
Yeah. I think it's a case of putting the welcome mat out.
Mhm.
They're looking for places. A lot of times looking for places that have a shower or they have restroom facilities or where they could, I mean, but there's things we could do with our Lions Park or.
I know that Spokane does a tournament 3-on-3 for basketball downtown, and it's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of people travel to that. And many years ago, maybe 20 years ago, over at Lions Park on that dead end road, there was a tournament of 3-on-3, and there was a lot of people that came to that, but it never happened again. So
Yeah.
they just put the hoops for the time. So I think, I think that would be really cool if we can aspire towards that, and whether that's the event that you mentioned, I don't know what it's called, or a sports or pickleball tournament is huge. Have that in College Place. I think that would be, really a draw for a lot of people
Mhm.
to have those things.
Well, and I like putting the welcome mat out too. It's,
Yeah.
hey, we may not know of a certain group that needs a facility to do an annual event, but it might be popular, but say, hey, we're open. So bring us ideas, throw an RFP out. I don't know.
Right. Mary Elizabeth.
There is a whole group of health nuts out in the world who would die to come to a place like College Place where you can just kind of come here and get healthy. I went to acupuncture today across the street. It was awesome. And I wanted to tell you guys that something that Mike and I have talked a little bit about is the City of Lights concept. We've talked about slightly under 60-foot tall sculpture of a sunflower, kind of a one-line drawing. Have you guys seen those? That's lit up. And maybe it's across from one side or from one angle as a testament to Walla Walla University. But kind of trying to put lit up stuff is something that we've talked about. And the inspiration behind that was Beaverton, as well as a city in Michigan. They have this beautiful fountain. It's musical. It's a tourist attraction. It's something you remember for the rest of your life. We've thought about, some of those things.
Well, and those are also the things that people will take pictures in front of and tag it on social media.
I was just gonna say, they can't go in front of our water tower, right? So we need something that identifies. That's true.
Well, it's like that bean, you're from Chicago with yeah.
And the sunflower, right? The name of College Place before it was College Place. There was that. Yeah, there was that anyway.
It used to be called sunflower.
What?
There's a tie-in to the name of College Place and sunflower. So,
Really?
yeah.
No, that.
So
We picked it. I came here in my first week and I was like, I see sunflowers. How about sunflower?
but if you research that was,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. There was a
We're gonna create
tie-in.
a local legend, whether it's true or not. Okay, anything else for fun?
I have one. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be, it's in our park plan, but I would say as we're developing these parks, that each of them have their own identity and a theme to it. So Lions Park is gonna be the splash pad, and the general park, Veterans Park, we're working on that whole military theme design for that. And then Park Board, for the Whitman and Maple site, they're working on a bike pump track out there. So really aiming it toward where we don't have across the whole city a ton of everything, but what we have is that we have a little bit of a lot. So depending on your interest type, you can go to that park, and I think that's very strong.
I like that too.
And I think with Lions Park, aside from the splash pad, we have now integrated those, that healthy aspect, right? The walking path, the little stretching
Yeah.
bars, things
Yeah.
like that too.
And one other thing too, that I think there's a heavy lean into with the whole sunflower and everything else. So we're one of only a couple cities that were able to get that creative district designation with Walla Walla. So I really think that provides the avenue to really double down and play into that. Cause in the state, there's only about 10 of those.
Yeah, that's really. Okay, I have one more.
Yeah.
I would like for us to get a sister city.
That'd be
Right.
cool.
And the reason and it doesn't have to be this one, I'm just saying, about a month ago, the mayor, of a city in Mexico from, our town in Mexico, Jungapeo, came. She was the first female elected mayor, whose name happens to be Norma as well. She came to College Place as from an invitation of one of our residents here, Javier Hernandez, who lives across the street, because that's his village. And it turned out that there's almost 10,000, and I don't know how to say it in Spanish, so I'm just gonna say people from Jungapeo. I don't know what they're called, but anyways,
That reside here?
yes, in the Walla
Okay.
Walla Valley, 10,000 from this town have eventually migrated over here over the years, right? He's been here for like, I don't know, 30, 40 years. Anyways, having a sister city you can exchange, right? And I think that would be a good idea for us.
So what was the city in Mexico?
Oh, don't even ask me to spell it.
Yeah, yeah.
Jungapeo, it's like Juan. G-A-P. G-A-P-E-O. So maybe it's I'd have to look it up. I have it, but anyways, it was great. She was
Yeah.
here. She came and toured our
Yeah.
city.
Saying that just because I have to throw it out there, because otherwise the Italian Heritage Group will kill me. Because there's been talk about this too, because there's a lot of us, a lot of the Italians around here from the Calabria region. Including my family, ironically, although they're in Chicago, but I think having another sister city in that region would be key too.
Well, and there's always travel for council members to Mexico or
Yeah,
Italy.
right.
So there you go.
So I could spell it for you now. It's Jun Gapeo. And the fact that we have so many people in this community from that one village, we went on a tour. I joined them and we went to Greenridge. Is that the name of the school? Green Park Elementary. There was probably 30, no joke, 30 people who worked there that knew the mayor and
Oh, wow.
because they're all from that village. And then they were talking like, they would say, oh, this is so-and-so's grandchild. She's like, oh, yes, I know your grandmother. She lives in, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
So cool to watch and listen to them do that. It was, and I just thought, this is a kind, right? This is a kind of, whether it's tourism or introducing a small village, whatever, to College Place. And I think it would bring I think that would be fun.
For sure.
In Tempe, where I am right now, I've been going to the library because of reasons, and they have a wall there, and they have more than one sister city, but it's like a wall that's dedicated to their sister cities. And it's really cool. And so I like the idea of us having something like that too.
Well, and Pasco did that with Colima, Mexico a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And a number of people from Colima live in
Pasco,
Pasco.
see, there it is. Yeah,
Yeah, so-
that's where they congregate.
What's that? Yeah, but, okay. Well, let's talk resiliency next. So kind of getting more into those nuts and bolts, no pun intended. Public works items. Infrastructure planning, how resilient is your community? Figure this out. So if you look at resiliency, that can definitely be, maintenance of infrastructure, that could be development of, I don't want to say sustainable infrastructure in the sense, it could be sustainable infrastructure in the environmental sense, but also sustainable in the maintenance sense there. Planning a community, planning the right things in your community to grow commercial zoning, to grow residential zoning, to grow affordable housing, that sort of thing. But thoughts on the resilient community?
Definitely not as fun as fun.
Sorry, I had to get those out of the way first.
I think we need to continue making our city walkable. So developing more sidewalks around roads that might be old and outdated, and just keep in mind that some people might not be able to walk. So getting them ADA compliant and getting those sidewalks over the years would be really beneficial.
I agree with that. And also, the thing about infrastructure is it's invisible as long as it works well. And so that's kind of what we're aiming for, is invisible infrastructure, because it's just there when you need it and you don't think about it. But in our planning, it's not only planning for like where the infrastructure goes and things like that. It's also planning for emergency response and what you would do in different circumstances. I remember this was years and years ago, probably 20, 25 years ago, but they had a big snowstorm in Seattle, and it was very clear that whoever was in charge of their snow plan felt like this was a really easy job because it was never going to happen. So they had things like they had designated where to plow first. None of the hospitals were on that list. And so they had designated snow routes for the buses, which were not on the list of streets to get plowed. And it was just chaos. And so making sure that we had kind of the slow motion with the pandemic, and I think we did a really good job with that, but making sure that we're up to date on our emergency response and plans, and that we pay attention to them and update them so that they actually match reality.
Perfect.
I think that's a snowstorm where the next year the mayor got voted out. He lost his reelection because people were so mad at that.
That'll
Yeah,
happen.
To get home.
Who to get plowed out first was people like the mayor instead of the hospitals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. His road was plowed.
I think we also need to focus on not just developing new infrastructure, but maintaining the infrastructure that we have. So having those preventative maintenance schedules and having the right people on board to maintain the infrastructure. Because if we just grow and develop, but we don't take care of what we currently have, we can find ourselves in deep trouble down in a few years.
Here.
Yes.
As an engineer, I'm always so frustrated that everybody's happy to build a new bridge and name it after somebody. But I tell my students, if they want to do something for me, start the Melody Williams Memorial Maintenance Fund.
I want us to think about water.
Okay.
With our water tables going down, we're in desert, we don't know what, climate change is happening. And I think making sure that we have sufficient water for our citizens and to run a city is something that's really important, that we need to make sure that we're not caught off guard in a drought year or something.
Yeah, and one thing I would say in a way, just add on to that, is really working in partnership where some areas of town where those irrigation districts are providing water somewhat, that over time we work to maybe incorporate them as part of like the city system, because some of them involve, I'm working on an agreement to do that, but I just think it's really important because the people rate paying that are, a lot of them are also city residents that happen to be in Green Tank or 14.
Sure, yeah, no, but yeah, I think we need a good ensure that we have a good stable water systems.
Sure. You want to certainly sustain what you have now, but also provide water for growth coming in.
Correct.
For sure.
Well, and we made sure we had the water rights for growth, but those can very easily turn into just paper rights if we're not careful about where the water actually is. So I totally agree.
We don't have a whole lot of options for, replenishing kind of water sources unless we can get a valley up in the mountains somewhere right down here. So we would probably need to work with partnerships, I would think, you know, that might be something like well, we've talked about like a regional fire, we've talked about regional wastewater. If we had regional water where we had, you know, a partnership and connection and some sort of a you know, thing with Walla Walla or their watershed, you know, that's a sustainable replenishing source each year, providing it rains, but
I think a good conservation plan is also part of focus on water. Yeah,
Yes.
So,
And
I-
encouraging people to change from grass to native plants would be a step in the right direction. Also, I think we need to seriously consider, especially as we grow, using our wastewater. We almost have to clean it to reclaimed water standards now. Cleaning it to reclaimed water standards and using it for groundwater recharge can be a good way to not drought proof, but, you know, help in times of drought.
so I was looking through this site, historylink.org. It talked about the city of College Place being developed, a place that would be free of sin, no bowling alleys.
we don't have any.
We still don't have any. And there's a little, I can tell you some stories there if you want to hear. But
Movie theaters either.
yeah, you don't have to write that down, by the way.
free of sin.
But when you go back to the history of how the college determined everything, the fire truck that put out fires that the college kids ran, and before the city, all city burned down, and yeah, whatever. What's interesting, though, what caught my attention here, and I don't want to bore too many people, but water continued to be a major issue of concern as College Place kept growing. In the early 1980s, the city was ordered. I don't know if this is true, Mike. This could be somebody just decided to write this on the internet. The city was ordered by the state to tie into Walla Walla's water system to install further lowering of the underground aquifer. In 1994, College Place and Walla Walla prepared a coordinated water system plan update that included tie-ins with Walla Walla College and with Consolidated Irrigation District 14. Another review in 1995 determined the city of College Place had sufficient water supplies to meet its projected needs through 2022. It's interesting. This has been something that's been around for a while. So even, I'm sure the wells were different depths, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if you go back in time. But to the point of, yeah.
Well, and that is actually true though, because that state order was why for about roughly a decade and a half, all of College Place east of Larch used to be on Walla Walla's system. And then they kicked us off when there was all the jealousy that erupted around the Home Depot. And that's how those tanks on Whitman and Maple got built. When we got kicked off of Walla Walla's system back in the day. So yeah, I mean, water has been an issue. I really think with the treatment plant, since it's not too far off of that groundwater replenishment, that is the way to go because it's not that far.
Well, self-sustaining, I think, would be an important.
Yeah.
Right, so that we don't get kicked off anything
Yeah.
ever again. So.
Yeah, and I think there are one thing that I think we need to try to regularize, if for lack of a better word, is I think there still are physical interties between Walla Walla University and City of College Place Water and City of Walla Walla and College Place Water, but the agreements are not in good shape, and we may need, you know, valves replaced and things like that. So I think because in an emergency, it makes sense to have those interties set up so that it can go either direction. We can help
But
them or they can help us.
I think those fit all in the next step, right? Zach, do we keep crossing by giving solutions or?
No, I think what I like to do with this exercise is do the free form
Yeah,
Okay,
discussion and then we can triage everything. And this is a goal and this is an objective underneath the goal.
I
So
just
you
want to
could
make
have.
sure we're not driving you crazy.
No. This is, my job is to make sense of the chaos.
Okay.
So.
yeah. Well, and then just to.
Can I hire you for home?
But, well, and just two other items, because we haven't like super mentioned them, I would say one is, it goes in preventative and future, but really whittling down the whole street replacement schedule, because even though we have that transportation benefit district now, I mean, liability, if you look at a 6-year plan, even in the 6-year horizon and streets was like 67 million. So it's a pretty large value. And then the second thing is really continuing to play catch up on the stormwater, because we only really got into that when the state said, hey, you need your own permit. And then we did the utility and stuff, but it's like catching up on like decades and a half doing it.
Right. I think that all fits
Yeah.
into water
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so what we'd see here is a goal somewhere around like self-sustainability of water or address future water needs, and then you can have a number of some of these more specific objectives underneath. Okay. Well, let's move on to a safe community. So under the shroud of a safe community, looking at public safety, police, fire, I think we spoke to some great goals for resiliency and emergency planning, emergency preparedness. And I think that kind of goes beyond that initial tactical police call or fire call. That goes on to your, global pandemics, if one of those ever happens. A flood, a fire, that sort of, a major fire, that sort of thing. So, but safe community, what does a safe community speak to this council?
You walk down the street at night.
Yeah.
So would this fit in there? Because I also think we are not a very well lit community.
Yep.
We're working on those lights, but there's a lot of dark corners and dark streets. Even some of our major streets are pretty dark. So I think we need to be.
Illuminated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guess you could say we're enlightened.
Enlightened community. So illuminated community we put up there, but obviously address your street lighting, make sure everything is, well lit in those areas, no dark areas. What are we looking at for like police, fire, staffing? Those sorts of things,
Yeah.
response times.
I think having a stable first responders, I don't know, what's it called, department, whether it's police, fire, EMS.
Yeah.
Because we definitely don't want to have the problem of constant turnaround or constant shortages. Like some other communities have, I know we're not nowhere like it, but Seattle's, they're even trying to recruit over here now because, right, because they're so short on fire and police over there. But I think having a stable departments is a pretty significant thing that we need.
We also have a pretty good strength, I think, of police visibility. I frequently see the cars patrolling around. I think Chief Tamaris, when he started here, he kind of had this policy of like, I want so many engagements from police to community each day or each week or something to kind of build that up. And so I think that's a strength that we have, and one we want to continue is just visibility of our police and fire.
I also think that we want to make sure that it seems to me like our school resource officers have kind of come and gone because of grants, and it would be really nice to be able to have that be permanent. And if we're dreaming here, I feel like that it would be really good to have better integration with the Walla Walla University security, and get them involved in some of our training exercises and things like that, because I feel like that could be improved. And I know that's not us, but I think we can encourage
Yeah.
that by inviting them to be part of our.
I was just gonna say, is that on that? I mean, did we do something to not welcome them? Okay, but that helps. understand.
No, I just think, I think they don't think that way very much.
Okay.
And so I know that we have, training exercises and practices where, it's like a drill that some of the emergency happened and what do you do? And making sure that they're invited and encourage them to be part of that and stuff like that.
Will all of you have just security or they have their own police force?
It's a contract.
It's a contract.
Yeah.
And it's security. It is not a police force. They are not, they're not authorized to
Contract.
arrest or carry weapons or anything like that.
Okay,
Um,
good to know.
so
around
but
it.
I worry that I always worry that people are like, do I call security or do I call 911? And that sometimes not knowing the roles can slow down proper response. Let's put it that way.
I think also utilizing surveillance and technology in our community as our resources allow it. We've put up cameras to deter crime from taking place, and I think that just builds confidence in our community and our business arena. So continue to leverage technology and surveillance to help our officers and to deter crime is something that will be, I think, beneficial in the future.
I don't want to keep, this has been improved by leaps and bounds over the year for decades. College Place had 2 patrol cars that were active. I'm not saying they didn't own more cars, but I'm saying there were 2 active. And so as a 16-year-old growing up in this town, if you knew where the one car was and you know the other one was parked,
Go speeding.
but now it's really amazing now. I think there was some response just over this weekend. It's not uncommon. There was something where there was Washington State Patrol involved with some semi truck was pulled over. There were 4 College Place cruisers there, We had an incident the other day where a very unfortunate incident of a car hitting a house. Within minutes, 4 of our cars there. I mean, this is something that's, I'm sure we can always have more, perhaps, but this is something where it has it's night and day. If you look over the last 5 years, or I don't know how long the chief has been.
Yeah, 5, no, 7.
He started 4 months after I started.
Okay, so, we're talking about exponential, improvements.
I think that's part of our take your car home.
Yeah.
Right? Because now our officers can take the cars home. So when they get a call, they can go.
So, yeah, so not if we're on staff necessarily all the
Yeah.
time, but
But
right, but pretty amazing. And so,
Best response.
Yeah.
and you see, and I've seen that, Mike, where we're responding to the county,
Yeah,
we're responding to the city of Walla Walla, when
Yeah. yeah.
I'm
No,
just saying,
you're
I see that, and so could we do better? You bet. You can always do better, but,
Yeah.
I don't want to say we've reached that point, but this is something I think that the chief and others and mayor, you can brag about.
Yeah.
And Mike.
Yeah, it is something for us to be proud of. Absolutely. Mike?
Yeah, the one thing I will say, so the school resource officer, that's split 50-50 with the school district and the city, so it's no longer dependent upon grants. But what I will say is I do think there should be a goal about adding more, because especially since I have a nephew in the public's, there's stuff going on over there. It's very similar to where I went to school at, which is not, people know where I'm from, so yeah. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, growing
Yeah.
our programs. What? I can't think of how to word this, so please help me out if you guys can think of it. It's not kind of drug free. I'm kind of thinking, keeping drugs off the streets, away from our children. And that's not just a police effort, right? Because the police get involved after the drug's already there so I don't know how we can do that. And it might just be small things like we currently have that we don't allow dispensaries here, much to our tax chagrin, our tax benefit chagrin. But I don't know, I think that's part of our safety is protecting our children,
Community involvement with, right?
right?
With safety, it's,
Yeah.
you see it,
She can't hear you.
you know?
Right.
Some of that we can do with education. There's actually been some pretty successful college programs that just let people know that most people aren't binge drinking every weekend because they feel like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do when I'm at college. And knowing, getting some of that positive peer pressure out there and saying, no, those people are not the normal people. And things like that. So, and also offering other things to do, because I feel like from the time you can drive to the time you can legally go in a bar, there's not a whole lot to do on Saturday nights sometimes. So at our activities and stuff, I think will help with that as well.
Yeah. Emmy?
In terms of regionally, I would say that regionally, the whole area looks at College Place as clean, all the way around. And maybe that's part of our branding that we can really lean into, that it is literally clean and metaphorically clean, right? Because it is, right? No dispensaries, no bars, so on and so forth. So
I think also from a legislative perspective is we need to do what we can to create code and enforce code that allows for a safe community to continue to grow. In such a way that, we're allowing for the proper space for homeless people, drug-free education, and maybe partnering with police to go out to schools and getting that exposure out there. So, and from our perspective, if we need to enforce code or write code that will support a safe community, I think is something that we need to look at constantly over the years.
On the topic of code enforcement, that's something that we've put a lot of focus on in the last few years, and I think that really does make a difference. I remember reading about how more crimes are committed in areas of town that just look bad. So by keeping a very positive image in code enforcement, I think is really important. And on the topic of police, future goal, of course, is a new police station. If someone happens to have misplaced, $15 million or something that they find in the laundry, feel free to send it over.
Left my checkbook at home.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be happy to call the police station, so-and-so's police station, if somebody wants to donate 15 million to us.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so we've gone for an hour and a half. We have one other priority area left, affordable communities. So usually I don't like to go more than an hour and a half without a break, or we can just blaze through because it's 8 o'clock and do the final priority area. And Madam Mayor, I know you're leading the meeting, but I wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I think we can just continue because we all know that if we needed to get up and go somewhere, we can, unless Mary Elizabeth needs one.
I already went.
So let's continue.
Next one.
And we can just get up and go. We need to go some bathroom.
Flip charts here, but our final one is affordable community. So we have that as housing, growth, and business. At least initially defined. Now, I want to caution council that, affordable community, but we have to look at what we can reasonably accomplish as a council in a city. We're joking earlier, we can't say all houses will be $100,000 in College Place. But well, yeah, there's all sorts of ramifications with that. But an affordable community was one of the priorities that came out earlier on. But what does an affordable community mean to this body?
policy in terms of our utility rates, our sales tax rate. Also, like, you know, if we mismanage, you know, utilities, or where we don't increase the rate enough to cover, you know, required maintenance, then that's gonna make our community unaffordable if we have to double the utility rate. So having a sustainable model for our rate is really important too. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna mention that one of the things that we do to keep it affordable is to keep an eye on, you know, where we are in terms of rates compared to our, you know, our neighbors and our competitors across the state. I think one of the ways that we make a community affordable is we also encourage businesses here so that there's you don't have to go to the Tri-Cities or wherever to get what you need. And I think we've made a good start on that with Walmart and Home Depot. And I'm not saying, you know, we need to bring in just lots and lots of big box stores, but making sure that, you know, there's not really a clothing store other than Walmart, you know, close by that isn't prohibitively expensive. So like a medium clothes store.
Right, so I
and
think
things
that
like
the
that.
types of businesses that we bring in,
There's
Right.
Ross.
but that's in Walla Walla.
Yeah,
That's the thing, you gotta.
but it's right adjacent to us, so.
So I think the types of businesses, and you know, one thing I'm sure we've all heard is Walla Walla citizens complaining about downtown is just for the tourist, right? They were always saying it's just the wineries, it's all the expensive stores. They're not meant for us who actually live here. We don't want that.
Mhm.
Sort of a downtown for you.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to bring Costco here.
Yeah.
My wife is gonna love me if we end up doing that.
Is that what it's gonna take?
What's that?
Never mind, sorry.
But on all seriousness.
Prepared for a nightmare. I live in Richland and they just started that second one, so.
Oh, right, yeah.
Richland? I live in Richland and they're.
Oh, yeah, the new Richland.
Right?
Costco
Yeah.
turned it down.
Yeah,
Amazing.
there's all sorts of,
Yeah.
go on about past those things, but, well, with regard to Costco.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you know more about this than I do, but affordable housing, Walla Walla is it's sort of landlocked in that there's water rights, there's not the ability to go out to the 100 acres of wheatland and divide that into lots. And we just saw what happened here just recently in Walla Walla with some of this for the second go around. So I don't know if that would be affordable housing? It would be an expansion of housing. But part of the whole issue, you know, we've made several attempts here to build mini homes in backyards. We've done we've kind of bent over backwards to try to do this. I think I've been a little disappointed in how that's been accepted or utilized, and it's nothing to do with us. It's just if people are doing it or not doing it. But I look over the Tri-Cities and they're putting basically the City of College Place in Broadmoor.
Mhm.
And they're putting the City of College Place up, in Kennewick up there, by Trios,
Yeah, Southridge, yeah.
Southridge, thank you. So, I mean, and there's not a lot of, I'm sure there's restrictions,
Mhm.
but they're able to just do it. We can't do that here. And that's been an issue. I know whenever anything, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but the houses, it's competitive, or how many houses for sale, what's available, at what price ranges and whatnot, and I don't know.
Supply is.
And the working people, what can they afford and whatnot, when you come to affordable community, that's a tough one, because you're not gonna be able to go out and get 100 acres out here and start building houses on it.
Sure.
You're gonna have a tough, we here a few years ago just wanted to expand a little bit as far as moving this thing out to get a little bit more land, and we're not allowed, right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, and this goes back to your comment of what's in our control, what's not in our control, right? But those are the facts that we're dealing with, that are outside of our control.
I think things like we've done, changed our codes, encouraged certain types of development where we will waive certain fees. If you do this kind, if you have, here's some designs, you can do that. We are flexible so it goes back to our codes, think about what are the apartments, Vesper apartments? Vesper apartments. According to our code, that actually wouldn't have been able to go there because we're trying to keep downtown to a business type, right? Business and residential, and they couldn't fit the business in there, not in that size lot. So we were flexible in saying we'd rather have housing than say, no, you can't build anything here if you can't build a business. So I think that, plus I also think council members who are cognizant of having to make that decision. I think that was part of Walla Walla's problem, right? Is that they could have done it. They just chose not to by a vote, right? So it takes the city to be sure that this is what you want because housing growth is good, right? And of course, we are encouraging a type of housing as much as we can, but either way, housing can be good and people move up so I think that's part of the leadership as well, is making sure that we are not afraid of growth.
I don't know if you guys saw in the news, probably did, the Cottonwood development over in Walla Walla was just shut down and the developers are going to sue because the study said that it was good for them to develop, but the council didn't approve of it, so they shut it down. And I think for us, we are more growth inclined, but ultimately I think housing is a function of jobs. You have to have jobs to support housing because you cannot build 100 homes and not have the jobs to support paying for those mortgages. So I think that we need to continue to focus, and Mike has done a wonderful job in promoting College Place to bring new business. We got Burger King, we got Crazy Mike's, Jersey Mike's. Sorry about that. Scratch that off the record. Jersey Mike's. And so we need to create more jobs so that those jobs can support housing. And so to continue to attract employers to our 1 mile square in College Place is something that we need to do.
For sure.
Real quickly, something that we have is NIMBY, not in my backyard. That Cottonwood is this land out there where it got denied. That was this prime.
Yeah.
Emotions ran deep. Foothills of the Blues, whatever. I think College Place is actually and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. College Place is actually in a kind of a competitive situation where there are probably areas where a lot of building that could happen that's not a sore spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking out towards Last Chance Road and a few other, and so I think in that way, competitively, we are perhaps
In a better position.
in a better position, perhaps. Yeah.
Councilmember Williams?
I wonder if at some point in the near future, we need to look at setting things up to encourage redevelopment. Because we have some places near the city center that are falling apart, for lack of a better word. And
I'm surprised the windstorm yesterday didn't knock them all down.
and so if, a lot of cities that are stuck geographically figure out ways to encourage redevelopment, where maybe you tear down some, old small housing that was together and you put in an apartment block like the Vesper block or something like that.
Yeah, that speaks to unsafe housing, and we do have quite a bit of unsafe housing here in College Place.
Yeah, so figuring out ways to encourage that development, because it can be more expensive than new. So there sometimes has to be, ways to encourage that development to happen.
I think as a city, we also need to encourage the development of homes that are affordable, not just spec level homes. There's a lot of spec level homes that are being built in College Place, around College Place. But we need to incentivize builders to build starter homes and the missing middle, which is where a lot of the hurt is, because there is no missing middle. It's like very low end or really high end. And there's nothing in the middle. So, and I know the city has been incentivizing developers for like a tax credit for multifamily, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if there's a tax credit that we can look into for affordable housing. But that's something worth looking into as we try to incentivize more of this behavior.
Yeah, I mean, but it is really difficult right now to build,
Interest rates.
you know, with the cost of goods, right? Cost of goods, cost of employees, but you know, that's where maybe a smaller footprint home rather than these large ones the 2,600 square foot ones, they don't have to be that big. And you're right, we don't have a lot of smaller starter homes in nice conditions, right? Like, you know, my daughter's, right? It's not a big place. It's still 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, but it's not huge. And it's what she could afford and she loves it, right? It's a great home. So I'm trying to figure that out to go into smaller spaces. Okay, Mary Elizabeth, I see you up there.
I'm not talking for the rest of the night, but I just wanted to call out that you guys that College Place specifically, the level of advocacy that you guys do, that you're even having these conversations. I'm thinking like the Hayden Homes legislation that you guys did, that was cutting edge and innovative. You know, you are looking out for your citizens and that stands out. And I love that you guys do that and the community does too.
Thank you.
A little off subject, but this new apartment, what are the rents there? Approximately.
They range, so I know like a one bedroom over there, actually was starting like around 1,300, the one I knew about. I'd have to remember what the 2 bedroom is, but honestly, that 13 isn't bad because
That's what my mortgage.
that I'll just say what, if people know where I used to live, I did not pay much lower than that for that, and that should have frankly been demolished where I live. So
Right. You know, and I get that, but it's more than my
Yeah.
mortgage, right? Of my house. Yeah, it
Wish I-
is. It's
wish
more
I-
than my mortgage.
Jeez, wish I
Payment.
had your mortgage.
Right, yeah.
Time 7 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's everywhere though. It's not here. It's
Yeah.
Bozeman, it's Spokane.
So I think we hit it. So the housing, the type of stores that we bring in,
I mean,
the taxes, you know, watching our taxes and
Yeah.
fees,
Codes,
Yeah.
flexible, the development codes.
right?
Yeah.
Mike?
I would say there is one thing we didn't hit on, and I think, and it goes a little bit to TJ's point, but to remain affordable, you need a diversity of the employers. And I think Martin Airfield, and then even that plan we did a couple years ago, go do like city owned flex space. Because there's a lot of folks graduating from universities, they can't find anything, they just bounce to Tri-Cities.
Yep.
Cause Port of the Kennewick will give you a year's worth of free rent out there, and then we lose them forever. Because I will say, like I know that last roundtable meeting we were at with the partners, I mean, the Walla Walla Valley Chamber, they're actually stressing because they said the wine industry's hemorrhaging right now. So that right there shows the point, you have to diversify to keep things going. So
You know, what's interesting about jobs, to go back to the comment. There's a lot of interesting jobs being proposed or expanded over Burbank. And what, right, and you know, carbon capture, they're looking at all kinds of, I mean, and that, you know, I mean, the Amazon over there, I think that's on the other side, but you know, I mean, it's in that general vicinity, but it's always kind of curious when the Walla County builds a large employer over there. Yeah, we just gave Pasco a bunch of jobs, you know. But many of those, what's proposed and what's being put in place are high paying jobs. But there's nothing really like that that's happening
Yeah, the sad thing is that they're high paying jobs and you're right, Tri-Cities is gonna get them. Because the mindset is, well, we'll get the taxes though.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna get
It's a plus.
the business taxes,
Yeah.
but what do our people get, right? Yeah,
It's so, yeah, that's a chicken and egg thing.
Yeah,
We're not
it's
gonna
tough.
figure that out,
it's
but-
tough.
Anything else on affordable? Our biggest one.
I think the last comment that I want to make is just be good stewards for us as a city, not to spend more than the revenue that's coming in. To keep an eye on our expenses, to make sure that we're providing the best service possible to our citizens, but also being wise managers of our money for the future.
Yeah, and that's another
Yeah.
chicken and egg, because how do you how do we do all these other things?
Yeah.
Without spending money, right? Cause I'm even thinking of like Mike was talking about the flex
Yeah.
space. How much more city owned ideas could we have, right? Where
Yeah.
we make it affordable for somebody to be there, a
Yeah.
business or whatever, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and another thing I would add in too that I think is the strength of ours is that, and some I've heard from certain wall people, I think we need to be considerate of is that, you know, the whole big box thing is not a bad thing. That helps with folks who are having affordability issues to buy products on the cheap and stuff. Cause I once got an argument with people over Wawa, oh, you should want to shop local and spend less money for this. Well, what if you're broken? You don't have the money to spend. Oh, well, you should go find it somewhere else. Wow, that's elitist.
It's an elitist attitude
yeah,
that we
so-
definitely have.
Yeah, so I do think we have this downtown here we can cultivate, but what I will say along Myra Road and then 125, and when I go to Vegas, they even tell me this. Walla Walla wants to like harpoon big boxes where it's like, oh, that doesn't meet our cultivation of the small businesses. But people that are making six figures, they need to go shop somewhere. So I don't think that's like a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Where that's part of the diverse types of businesses that we bring. Our downtown's one, you know, the box stores are on the outside of our,
Yeah.
right, of the city perimeters, or, you know, because to be honest, during COVID, Walmart and Home Depot carried us, right, from sales taxes, right?
Yeah, we were pulling more money out.
We were, yeah, we were, we didn't, you know.
And the thing to remember about big box stores is not only do they provide affordable, but they provide jobs.
Yeah.
And so even though, you know, the profits may go elsewhere, but the salary money stays in the community, and they often provide jobs for people who are having a hard time finding a job.
I just had to
So-
say that because when I hear that quip, it's a pet peeve of mine. So
It's just smart city planning, I think, is what it's part of, right?
Well, we have a lot of goals and a lot of objectives to go through and come back into our final finished product for consideration, but we did a lot of work tonight on this.
Well, looking at our fund list,
Yeah,
you know, if we can make some of the, no, you don't need everything right down, I'm just talking. If we can make those work, that will then keep us from having to utilize taxes, because we'll be bringing money in from visitors, right?
yeah,
and that's a great tactic for
Right.
that, for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we went through a connected community, a fun community, a resilient community, safe, and then affordable. I have them along the wall if you want to take a look and see, but is there anything that popped up into your minds as we went through? Anything we would need to add? Anything missing or confusing for any one of those priority areas?
Not for me. Not from Councilmember Williams either.
I'm kidding.
But-
I was just, I'm kidding.
Councilmember Espinosa asked if these were for decoration.
No, they're for you guys. Mike authorized me to get them for you. I thought they were beautiful at Andy's Market, and I wanted to.
I've never seen what the leaves on there.
On the vine.
Cool, yeah.
Fancy pants.
Speaking of elitists, no, I'm just kidding. Okay,
No,
well.
it's true. So you'll just fill this down, obviously.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope to get a draft language over to
Yeah,
Mike before or beginning of December.
Yeah.
So after the holiday, I'll be gone next week. So, and of course it's Thanksgiving. But yeah, I mean, this is a great list. A lot of great information coming out and a lot of stuff. I think I have to hand it to you all too. I mean, it's stuff, it's goals, it's objectives that are city achievable. You know, it's not, you know, you want to be pie in the sky, you want to be aspirational and inspired, but I think a lot of this is stuff that, you know, is achievable for the community. But I also think it's a lot of items that you've started already. The fun, you know, being a fun community, you've got your community events that are very popular. Let's keep them going. And it's a community on the upswing or continued upswing as well. So I really appreciate everyone's time this evening and calling a special meeting, but I think it was great to just have this as a focus. And we got a ton of work done and we appreciate everyone showing up and chipping in. So
I'd like to thank you. I love the way you lead out. It's,
sure.
we've all lived through these things in our life and sometimes it can be awkward. Sometimes it's breaking in small groups and, you know, and things like that. So, no, I really appreciate your style and how you've facilitated this. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate that.
I did email Mike that paragraph I wrote so you can get it easily from him rather than having to go back through the recording.
Awesome. Well, I was telling your clerk that it's great that this is recorded too, because a lot of these aren't. So go back through some of the language and everything. So it's great.
And 4 people, as far as I know, have watched this entire time. I'm gonna refresh.
Excellent.
Okay, 3. Let's go.
Yeah.
Mike's mom. No, no. Angie. I'm not sure who the other two
I
are.
think Todd Morris is
Yeah.
watching.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he was
Yeah.
gonna
Okay.
watch.
Okay,
I'll tell you later.
okay. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. We know we kept pushing things around and we didn't intend to have to do this in a special meeting, but thank you for
I think it worked out.
for working with us on this. I think I think this was great. And council members, thank you, your contributions here. And I think we really felt some energy as opposed to where before we've been like we didn't know what to say, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for participating and bringing this in.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll likely see you all back in January. with
All right.
the Final plan. So
Happy holidays to you then.
yeah, same to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Okay, then let me see, where am I at? Okay. Any other business for good of the order? Lauren wants to talk some more, I think.
No. Not this time.
Okay, then I now conclude the meeting at 8:29 PM.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
yeah,
Bye.
happy Thanksgiving.
If you guys were interested,
Yeah.
I discovered the ordinance book from the city of College Place. Walk your hands, you're gonna catch it first, I'm not joking. This was the first ordinances ever made in College Place. Yeah, and the laws, yeah,
Look at that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Same for
Yeah. It's an H bunch. Bro.
Yeah.
They gave it to
Oh.
us several years ago.
Hey, how's the use of it?
Anyways,
I was
yeah.
gonna say-
Have your really go walk it over. So yeah, if you're interested, it has the, yeah, it was. And there's the fire department, the police, the very first things that they paid, chickens.
Yes,
Oh my God, the chickens chapter.
yes.
Oh, no.
Trying to make some of the Californians trying to make them.
Curious, okay. Anyways.
I'll say it out loud.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just wondering.
So I told Mike that so first of all, there is a law in Washington State called Keep Washington Working,
Yeah.
which prohibits law enforcement of Washington State of
You
working
know, so
with
they established the clerk
any outside
treasurer and the marshal.
Yeah.
when it comes to
And it talks about.
To
the salary
from-
ordinance.
right, if they're
And
in time,
ordinance number
but
10, it has-
correctly,